A safe and happy childhood. It's what every young person needs and deserves. In Essex, we know our children represent the county's future. We also know that by allowing each child to grow up in a happy, stable environment where they can flourish and feel good about themselves, we give them the best possible chance of becoming happy, confident and fulfilled adults. For many vulnerable young people, our extended family of foster carers plays a vital role in making this a reality. Every year, around 800 Essex children need to be placed in foster homes, where they're taken care of for a period of time from a few days to a few months, or in some cases until they're old enough to be independent. The majority of foster children eventually return to their own families, but the care they receive whilst being fostered is invaluable. There's no doubt that for many vulnerable young people, having the right foster carer at the right time can have a profound impact on their lives.
We had a little 2-year-old who, when he came, he was really shut down, wasn't he?
Lifeless almost. Really.
Yeah, like just a limp rag doll. He didn't speak, he didn't show any emotion. He was just a very, very sad little boy, and he stayed with us for 8 months. And within about 3 months, wasn't it, he just started to talk some more and just come out of himself. And by the time he left after 8 months, he was really confident, chatty.
Had an attitude.
Yeah, little toddler attitude.
It makes you feel proud and pleased that you've changed that little boy's life. He's now a much more confident little boy, and seeing that makes it all worthwhile.
When the children first came, they didn't even know how to play. They hadn't been able to do any of that because they'd been moved about so much that they just sit there and do nothing. But now they play all the time. They play with the other boys. I took them out soon after they came to me. I took them out to the leisure centre, and we did a game where you just like all stand in four, like a square, and you just kick the ball and you shout the person's name as you're kicking the ball. And they found that day the best day of their life, because they'd never actually done that with an adult before. But when you see the satisfaction, the happiness on their face to do something as simple as that, then it just makes the job so worthwhile.
I've been very privileged to be part of and allowed to be part of a family of a young man who was second or third in my placements. He's recently had a daughter. She's coming on for 10, 11 months. It gives me a sense of satisfaction, and I describe it as the culmination of my life's work, to be able to see this young man responsible for a beautiful daughter who's securely attached to her dad, who clearly loves me and helps me to waste a lot of time playing, walking, going out to seeing friends and showing her off. And I spoke with his partner recently, and she said, it shouldn't be a privilege. She said, you have a right to this because you've given her father so much in his life.
In Essex, we need 100 new foster carers every year. If the right foster home can't be found, a child may have to stay in residential care, sometimes outside the county and away from the people and places they know. It's far better for a young person to find the right home and the support they need locally, and that's why we need more local people to foster. What's more, we need people from all backgrounds and walks of life.
I got involved in fostering because I've been teaching for about 17 years, and then I got involved in youth work, and I felt that it would be useful to put those skills into practice. And I'd also had no children of my own, and this seemed to me a way of filling that gap. I have to say that I've had more than my fair share of experience as a result of it, but that's how I got involved in fostering.
Well, we'd had 3 grandchildren who were all very healthy, luckily. Realised how hard a work they were for their parents. And, I thought, well, it must be terrible, for other parents with children with disabilities, with siblings to look after as well, and thought we'd go down that road.
We were at home caring for our disabled son, and because we were both at home, we learnt a lot of skills that we thought we could use within fostering.
We started fostering in 1996. Barbara was driving as a volunteer driver, and she started to drive 2 children that were in care, and would come home and chat about these 2 little girls that she was driving and how much she liked them. And from there, really, we took an interest in fostering, and we applied to become foster carers.
You can't predict one's future, but with all the children, including our own children, you're hoping for the best for these children. You don't want them to be on the streets doing all the unnecessary things. And this is the reason why we give them a home.
Children might need fostering for a whole range of reasons, which is why Essex foster carers include all kinds of people from different backgrounds and with different skills. You can be approved for fostering regardless of age, ethnicity, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or disability. You can foster whether or not you have children and whether you're single or a couple.
At the moment, we have a long-term linked child with profound disabilities, and we foster babies that are bridging to adoption, but we have fostered right the way across the board from babies up to teenagers.
We actually got children that were a sibling group together, and they're long-term linked to our family as well, so they should be here till 16 or 18.
Taking children away from their families is hard enough, let alone to split them up. So yeah, it's a good thing to have siblings together so they can find comfort from each other.
We've done all sorts of fostering. We've done respite, emergency placements, and quite recently asylum seeking.
Asylum-seeking children are slightly different to other children that we've looked after. When they arrive, generally they don't speak English.
And because they're completely on their own, you feel this overwhelming caring for them.
We look after children that come under our youngest daughter's age. So she's 5. Initially when we started, we looked after 0 to 2-year-olds because I think she was 3, and then as her age has gone up, so we've increased our age. But we were sort of advised when we went through all the process of fostering that we should keep it under our youngest, so she doesn't lose her place in the family.
If you're over 21 with plenty of energy, patience and understanding, and if you're able to commit to caring for 1 or more children, then you could apply to be a foster carer. Otherwise, there are just a few other things you need to have: a healthy lifestyle, experience with children or young people, enough space for them to have their own bedroom, and time to spend with your foster child and give them the care and attention they need.
The most important quality in a foster carer, I think, really is tolerance and understanding. You need to be able to recognise that there will be young people who come with all manner of baggage, much of which is hard to understand and work with because it's outside our own experiences.
You obviously have to be caring, but you have to be very patient and very resilient.
Being a foster carer has made us more patient because you have to be much more patient with some of the children that come into your home because they don't know you and you don't know them. So you have to get to know them and they have to get to know you. So you have to be more compassionate at times and just understand that some of the things they do is not their fault, it's what they've been through.
You or your partner will need to be available to look after your foster child before and after school, during holidays, or if they're sick. You'll also need to attend daytime training, support groups, and meetings with your fostering social worker. And there's one other important thing. Everyone in your home must be happy about a foster child coming to live with them and enthusiastic about making it work.
I'd retired from school where I used to work as a cook, and as it happened, shortly afterwards a flyer came through the door advertising shared care, which is for children with disability in foster, and I wanted to do it. It wasn't really going to involve Paul, but because their children were coming to our home, he had to come along with me to the meetings.
Well, it actually scared me a little bit the thought of it that we was going to have children with disabilities into our home. But after we had a young lady come along who had 2 children of her own with disabilities, I got completely hooked. And from that day on, I didn't look back.
The children really love it. We didn't know, obviously, how they would cope with having another child in the family, but they're much better than thought they would be. They just seem to, any child that comes in, no matter what state they come in, they just take to them straight away. They're very loving, they're very caring, and they include them in everything. They want them to be in everything, and it is just like having another member of the family.
It's actually been very good for our own grandchildren as well, because they come, like when the other children are here, they come round and interact with them. So they think they've got a bigger family now. And I think it's also made them far more caring towards children with learning and physical disabilities.
I surprised myself when our first one came. It was a 4-month baby, and I felt like I had a stranger in my house, which I didn't expect to feel like. I just thought, oh, it's a baby. And I remember speaking to another foster carer, and she said that that's really quite normal to feel that way. And I did find it a bit overwhelming with the social workers and lots of phone calls and lots of visits initially. But probably after a week or so, then you kind of get into it, and yeah, I really enjoyed it, but it was scarier, I think, than I thought.
We felt at the time that because we had 3 of our own children, that we were quite capable of looking after children, and that having an extra child in the house wouldn't make that much difference. But it did. Looking after a child in care isn't like looking after one of your own children. It's completely different. And it was a very big learning curve, the first few children that we looked after.
On the first day, before the child arrives in your family, on the first time you ever start, you're a bit apprehensive. You're thinking, oh, what if they hate us? What if they hate being here and want to run away? And you're scared of so many things at first. But once the child comes in, if you approach the child in the correct manner, just talk to them a bit, and they seem to relax somewhat, even though they've still got their back up, but they are more relaxed. And then you realise, yeah, this is going to work, we can do this.
Your social life definitely changes, especially being 0 to 4. Babysitters aren't at a premium when you've got 4 of your own plus another child, but that doesn't mean that it's a negative. It's just more fulfilling, really.
You have people coming on a regular basis for meetings. You have lots of new people to meet. You have to work and understand young people who you've never met before.
There are a lot of challenges with having these children. One of the challenges is obviously communication, because some of them have no speech. And one of the ways of communicating is Makaton, which I've had to learn, and it's a hand sign language.
Even if they have no speech, if they haven't, they will still make you understand what they want. So it's not that daunting that you have to really worry about that.
For me, it's the thing I love doing most is the bridging to adoption. To work with the baby, to bring them on, then to work with their new family, and to see later on that family happy and settled. That for me that's absolutely fantastic.
There was an occasion once when a young man was asked by somebody who I was, and he said thought for a long time, and they said, well, he's my dad. He said, because he's the only person who's ever been in my life stable and secure, and as well as being the best friend I have, I regard him as my dad. And that was an incredibly poignant moment, and very, very gratifying, because this young man was in a very angry state, and that he could relate to anybody in that way was fantastic.
You can't find words to describe the feeling of it, having all these children. They're magical, having our own children and having the privilege to look after other people's children. It's great.
I'm often asked what it's like when a young person leaves me. It's often more difficult if they're going to an unplanned move. But I wouldn't be doing my job properly if I wasn't sad when they left. It's not a hotel. This is about family experience for young people. And if I didn't get upset, if I didn't cry, then they might think that they weren't worth anything.
Some children, when they move on, you're quite pleased that they've moved on. Other children, you're pleased for them, but you feel very, very sad because you've grown to love them and you've cared for them a lot. So it's not always easy to say goodbye, but you learn your own strategies to deal with it.
And it's not just us, it's the whole family, because all the children,
yeah,
and nans, granddads, it is everybody's included. It has an impact on everybody.
I'm always telling friends of mine to foster, and a lot of them say, I can't do it because if they leave it's so devastating, I can't do it. Then I say to them, yes, but you are actually taught how to deal with them leaving, and it's still going to be hard, but you should just do it, because there's so many children out there that need families. Just do it.
To become a foster carer, you have to make a real commitment. You don't have legal responsibility for the child you look after. This is often shared between Essex County Council and the child's natural parents. This means you have a wide network of people on hand to support you at all times.
We have our supervising social worker visits regularly, about monthly. We can speak to him anytime. We have other foster carers that we call upon. We have team meetings, we have training. We have to work as a team. We support each other. We support each other when people are having holidays, ill health. It has to be teamwork or it won't work. You can't do this job on your own.
In addition to the help that foster carers get from their social workers and supervising social workers, we have the Essex Foster Carers Council, which is organised and run by foster carers to support carers in all sorts of situations. And nationally is the Fostering Network, which provides a legal advice line and something called Foster Line, which advises on all the issues relevant to foster care and is open to foster carers to contact free of charge.
Our children also get to go to a support group as well, which is really nice for them to be with other children that foster, because obviously at school there might be the odd person that fosters, whereas they're with the same children that are going through the same things. So that's really good for them and they enjoy that.
Foster carers receive a fostering allowance for each child in their care, but just as importantly, fostering gives you a chance to grow and gain new skills. You become part of the professional childcare workforce, and you can even develop your skills as a carer up to NVQ Level 3 Childcare Award, paid for by Essex County Council. You'll also become a member of a national organisation, the Fostering Network.
When we first came into shared care, we had no previous experience of children with special needs or foster caring or anything like that, and we started with a blank canvas, but it's not that bad. It's quite refreshing when you get on the courses and find out what goes on.
There are many opportunities for training. Training has developed a lot in the last few years. You can do MVQ training now, so there's a recognised qualification at the end, and there's ongoing training currently all the time, so we can update and enhance our skills.
People might think it's daunting caring for a child with a disability, and it can be very difficult, but it's also very, very rewarding. We've had help, financial help, to actually adapt our property to make it easier for the child and for us to care for that child. We also give a good care package. We have respite, where the young man that we have goes to a residential unit for respite, and he'll go on average once every 4 to 6 weeks to give us a break from caring for him. And eventually he will move on from us, and because of the level of care he will need, he will move on to a residential unit. But we're hoping that we can still be part of his life.
We receive an allowance for each child that we look after, which depends on their age as to the amount that you receive. And also, because Barbara's been fostering for some time, she's become a feed-paid carer, so she gets a fee on top of the normal allowance.
For anniversaries like birthdays and Christmas, you do get a double allowance. If you've attended training or you've got expenses for meetings, there is a system where you can claim back that money and you'll reimburse that.
And also you get an allowance towards the holidays if you're taking the foster child on holiday with the family as well.